Wife cheated, got pregnant. We have 2 kids already. I need some advice. I am 31, have been together with my wife, F34, for 9 years, married for 4. We have 2 children 7 years and 11 years. I adopted our oldest around 4 years ago as well. But raised and was a part of his life since he was 1.5 years, all the puke, shit, stepping in Legos, riding bikes. That's my boy essentially. Last year January my wife started a part-time serving job at night and started going out with her co-workers at the local bars and their houses 1 to 3 times a week after work. Sometimes for an hour or 2 after closing time, sometimes until 3 a.m. She also had another part-time job during the day for 4 to 5 hours. I worked a 50-hour work week at a remote work-from-home job. Since my job was much more flexible I took the kids to and from school, helped with homework and class projects. I carried most of the slack on their sports or doctor's appointments, as I had more flexibility but we both shared these 2 tasks. I also worked on my side business at night after bedtimes, that I built from the ground up, I'm proud of and it's definitely my passion and dream. During late spring/early summer my wife started working more at the night serving job and less at the part-time day job. Which meant she was also frequenting the bars and going out with her co-workers more. I voiced my concern quite a bit but always was met with, the kids are already asleep, I'm just going out with my co-workers. I would bring up activities we could do, games, painting, hanging out things you would want to do with your wife. It was more convenient to just hang with the people she was already with. Fast forward a few months towards the end of the summer, more late nights, new friends I've never met, schedule changes. My wife comes to me with, hey I'm developing a schoolgirl crush with a coworker, I feel silly about it, there's nothing to worry about I just wanted to let you know and make you aware, we can call the coworker Fred. Now feeling secure in my marriage, love of my life for 8 years, mother of my children, been through a third of my life with her, know her so much, I say something along the lines of thank you for coming to me, the honesty is appreciated. You work with the guy, we are married, we've been together for 8 years. I trust you and our relationship and it would make sense that eventually someone would get a feeling like this we are only human, like that's pretty dumb but no biggie thanks for the honesty. I approached it with compassion and probably a chunk of naivety at this point. I told her that it was dumb but it's all okay and I trust her, you are just co-workers and even joked and said go get coffee with the guy, you work with him a lot anyway. Maybe she would see the schoolgirl crush is dumb and shake it off. Say to herself, what am I doing, my husband is my man, sort of thing. Boy, was I wrong. Fast forward a month or so. Same going out to the bars behaviors. I'm dropping off and picking up the kids, I'm cooking dinners doing bedtimes alone. I get let go from my day job and it was a unique job that allowed me freedom to take care of the kids, take time off, and it paid fairly well for my profession. I decided to put more effort into my business and went full-time into it. I was making about the same amount at my side business as my old day job at this point, even more by double some months too. I was ecstatic, but working hard day and night and staying focused to keep the bills paid. Everything has been split 60-40, it's me paying a bit more most of our relationship, we were 20-year-olds having kids, I wasn't in a position to pay for a family of 4 off of 1 or 2 jobs with my skill set she very desperately wanted me to pay for everything so she could stay home and still does. It's just really hard to make enough for her to stay home in this economy and our skill sets that I only can work 2 jobs realistically. 1 month she was going to visit her friend on the West Coast for a week. Everything was normal and seemed fine, and when she came back from the trip we went to a concert and I felt something was a little off because I saw she was texting one of her old exes again. She hasn't talked to this guy for years, and it was becoming this constant thing I was noticing. I confronted her about it and she said she had met him on the West Coast trip in passing at a concert her and her friends went to. So they're connected and started talking again. At this point I was definitely concerned. And was questioning how this trip really went. I never went through her phone our entire relationship, but I had a chance to one day and I had this gut feeling. I looked through her phone and found out she cheated on me with one of her girlfriend's friend. Some dude she just met for a day or 2 and slept with him. I see text back and forth from him and her that were talking about what they did and how great it was, not a care in the world, and she was loving the praise and attention from this guy. I also find a text thread with her planning a hotel night with Fred that same week she came back from that trip. If not one hookup was enough, she wanted 2. A ruse that she was going to give me about being at her girlfriend's house party too drunk to drive home, so she had to stay the night. There was also more texts between other dudes about wanting to hang out or meet up for drinks, etc. Sure, let's make a date, I'll check if my babysitter is free. Apparently I'm the babysitter. At this point I felt struck. I mean hit with a train, spikes thrown at my body, dragged through hot lava. Absolutely enraged. I couldn't process it, I was in utter disbelief. If you are wondering, our life was damn amazing in the beginning. We were an amazing pair sexually, but the last 3 years of the relationship it was fairly dead. I would have to beg for sex and would be lucky to get 1 to 2 times a month. I married a girl with a matching sex drive to me, which is fairly high, but hers decreased a bunch after kid 2, and I was the only one initiating and trying to be sexy and show that I wanted her in that way. When I saw her next, I confronted her. She seemed shocked I found out and was pissed I went through her phone, later find out there was more I missed too in Snapchat. She didn't cry right away or act how I would expect. She didn't throw herself at me crying, she was just looking sad and shocked. It took a few days for me to really see her break down and see that she probably fucked up the marriage forever. I try to sort through all the pain, hurt, betrayal, confusion, point of origin, hatred, love, depth, you name it. It was a rocky feeling weeks mentally, the depression started kicking in. But that's my wife, and in the end I tried my absolute best to see the good in her and just try to make it work for the sake of our kids, the home, the marriage. I tried to be the better man. I told her, don't stay at your friends, let's try and work this out. I hate you because of the betrayal, but I love you because everything else we've been through. We even slept in the same bed that night too. Is this trauma bond? The next part happens within a few weeks. From when I found out in July to August, all hell broke loose. I will take some blame here on this next section because my mental psyche was completely compromised and I was not operating as a functional human mentally, at this point. I was broken, or at least that's how it feels. We decided to do an open relationship test run. Stupid move, it was a shiny new thing that sounded good on paper. We made rules/an agreement and she went on a date with Fred. I tried to be mostly supportive and open to the initial idea. Who knows, might work out for both of us at this point. She comes home and tells me about the night. It was a simple date with him, her and a group of friends. But I realize right there I'm never going to have time to chase another girl and raise kids and build my business. I was blinded by the idea, but it made no sense in hindsight, but it would work great for her and her schedule. At this point I'm drowning for something to make sense. I'm flopping around like a fish trying to breathe and figure everything out. One night I asked her to hang with me besides watch TV, something to the effect of helping me do a menial task that would take an hour or so. No, she wasn't into it and would rather watch TV. I snapped. I said sure, whatever. I felt the care and love disappear. I felt the depression and numbness overcome me. It felt like when Anakin turned into Darth Vader. I felt vengeful, I felt hatred, I felt the poison of revenge just totally engulf me. I felt depressed, I felt like I wasted my life away for someone. Adopted her son, worked 2 jobs. How could she do something like this to me? I worked 2 jobs for 5 years and tried my best to provide as a young father of 2. I gave everything. My all. I bled for this family day in and day out and adopted her son. I signed papers to always be responsible for another man's child and to love him forever, but the poison just hit me. How can she do that to me and how can I handle this? Life didn't seem real anymore. I hopped on Tinder and found the easiest girl and planned a date/possible hookup if things went okay. I skipped a chunk of the rules/agreement of the open relationship and wasn't honest in what I was doing or my intentions of the night. I meet the Tinder girl at a bar and hit it off a bit, but at this point I could care less about looks or the conversations or anything. I just was filed by this numbness and worthlessness to feel what my wife did to me, feel how easy she could do it to me. I was numb, I let go. We went to a secluded place and hooked up. Wife had my location on and brought the kids out at 2 a.m. to catch me up in the act. Who brings their kids out at 2 a.m. into unknown situations? Absolutely insanity. She hit me multiple times and tried to beat me. She threw who knows what from her trunk at my head and clocked me pretty good a few times. I didn't touch her, or fight back. I was dazed and in shock. My wife makes me drive the girl I met back to her car with my kids and my wife in the back seat. Nice move, let's traumatize the kids, right? She makes me sleep in a hotel for a few nights, throws all my shit all over the house, threatens to destroy all my business gear. Screams, punches, throws everything at me. In my head I'm thinking, man, what the fuck was I thinking to do something like that? But I also realized, when she cheated on me. I was pissed but calm and reasonable. We slept in the same bed the night I confronted her. I yelled a bit, but didn't make her leave the house. I didn't take all her shit and throw it around. She was showing me that she couldn't handle the same thing she just dealt to me, and she was being so cruel and evil to me. I get back in the house and it's days of violence. Me trying to keep the peace and explaining that I'm feeling broken, depressed and hurt, that she would do that to me in the way that she responded when I did the same thing back. No, what I did was worse. I should have been the better man and not cheated back, even though we were open. It was my fault and I'm the slime of the earth, all things she kept saying to me. making me seem like the scummy villain, a terrible excuse for a husband and awful human for cheating back on her. All the while we only got to this place because she cheated on me. She didn't want to see that she made me into this shell of a man, and all of this was happening so fast. What was the rush? Why did all of this fall apart so fast? There was something else that was affecting this rushy open relationship. A few days after this my wife finds out she's pregnant. We were now in tornado panic mode, everything is spinning in our world. We find out that she is pregnant. With a doctor's visit shortly after this we find out it lines up perfectly to her week trip out west. It was the dude she met and fucked out there. I know this because we didn't have sex the week before or after her trip. It's not an excuse for her behavior, but the pregnancy hormones could have been why she was so intense when she caught me. Even when we were technically in an open relationship, I just skipped some rules. Hell, she broke the entire marriage vow when she cheated. Even so, she bounced the idea of keeping this guy's baby, and I specifically said to her, "It's your body, you need to make this decision. I don't want to sway you anyway, that is your body, not mine." I made this clear many times. One day she asked me what I would do if she kept this man's baby, and I responded honestly, "I don't know if I can handle raising another man's baby that you cheated on me with." After a week, she decided to get an abortion. Even at the clinic I said, "Do you want to go home? You don't have to do this, and it's your body. Seriously, this is an important thing, we can just go home." Yes, she asked me to drive her to the clinic. She was going to have Fred drive her. She almost instantly regretted the decision a day or so later. She wanted to keep that man's baby, and she made me feel like I forced her to choose to abort. August, December were the worst months of my life. Worse than watching my mother slowly die of stage 4 cancer. It was a terrible time. Constant fights, and trauma, and her throwing my stuff outside and begging me to leave, but then telling me to fight for her. Going back and forth on what she wanted. She would get physical with me and punch me in the face some days. Men can't report domestic violence, that shows weakness. She would take the kids away for weekends or weeks. She even tried to take them from me on Christmas Eve. She did, but brought them back at night. Utter pain and chaos. Then came the ultimatum. She regretted not keeping the baby and said, "I'm not willing to work on our relationship unless you give me a baby." She wouldn't even entertain the idea of fixing the marriage first unless she was pregnant first. I'm not insane, am I? That's not normal, right? We're not well-off people, lower middle class at best. Always one full-time job and a part-time job or two for me, and a part-time or two for her. We make it each month but have no savings or retirement, etc. I know after all of this having another child is financially the stupidest thing we could do. And then on top of all this pain and betrayal, the last thing I want is to have a child with the women who cheated on me. It sounds so selfish and one-sided. Our kids we have now deserve as much care and attention we can give them with the little resources we have. I can't work 90 hours a week and be okay. I know I don't have the mental, emotional, financial, and temporal bandwidth for another child. But I know she wants another to fill the void she has from losing the other. But I feel like that's not my fault or obligation to give her another kid just because she cheated and had one with another dude and she decided to abort. Now she feels the need to have another? I don't feel like that should fall on me. That's not right to put the entire marriage on a selfish want after all of this. It's been 6 months since this happened. And we are more amicable and somewhat peaceful when conversing now. Both hurt, still in pain, but living under the same roof. I want to be there for my kids every day. That's my number one now. It used to be my wife, the kids, and myself last. But now it's the kids, myself and my wife last. I want to be there every day for them like I have been the past 10 years. I adopted her son as my own and she wants to take them away for an, at best, situation of 50-50, split custody. I love these kids so much and I know they will be broken without dad there growing up. Sure, 50% is better than nothing, but it's tough. Am I crazy for still tossing the idea of just giving in to what my wife wants? Am I insane for still wanting this marriage to work? I think about it and sometimes feel like a weak man who just wants his kids. I want peace, not more headaches, but another baby sounds so intense right now. But we're definitely at the defining fork in the road. There is no more straight path, a decision has to be made. Give her a child and save the marriage for my children, working even more hours to stay afloat knowing I'm doing it all for my kids and a wife who cheated on me and I cheated back? Do I just give in and give her her little dream of a baby to keep my family? Or walk away with my peace, knowing that I tried my best to make it work, but knowing life will be 10,000% harder raising 2 kids in separate households. I'll still have to work double hours or find some magic job that can afford 2 kids and a single dad in this economy. I don't have much of a friend network or any family here. I'd pretty much be on my own. I don't know, I'm just a 1 in a billion human being just like you, going through a different experience. I thought I'd share this. Any advice, clarity, perspective, story, is appreciated. I have a gut feeling of what I should do and choose myself and my happiness/peace, it's just tough. Top comment. I don't understand why people hate themselves so much. What does your wife have to do for you to divorce her? The whole city or stab you. Yes my friend, have another child with your wife and stay married forever. Subscribe for one less cheater in world.